Welcome to Mavs 101, a weekly show on Dash Radio's Nothing But Net channel, providing coverage of your Dallas Mavericks. We are live every Monday at 2 a.m. Central Time, but we are on YouTube now. If you're listening or watching us on YouTube now, thank you. Where we are Mavs 101, go subscribe there if you haven't already. And then Monday mornings, we are live wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Jack King, joined as always by my co-host, Matthew Knope. What's going on, Matt?
I'm in a different room. I'm in a different city, still in Texas. I'm back in the dorm. I'm in Houston. Life is good. I'm glad to be back. What a weekend of football. Can honestly, we just take a second to
Yeah, this is a Mavericks podcast, but it's been a great week of football. This Grizzlies game was great, but our attention was being diverted a little bit to this legendary Chiefs-Bills game.
Yes.
So, I mean, if y'all are football fans, hopefully you've enjoyed this past week of very unpredictable football. So let's get into some Mavericks, though. We are now fifth in the West. Well, still fifth in the West. We were fifth last week as well, but we have a better record this week. Funny how that works. We had wins against the Thunder, the Raptors, and the Grizzlies. We lost to the Suns, sadly, but we have a 27-20 record, which is 7 games above 500, which is 4 games back of the 3 seed. So that's pretty nice to see. That's a very attainable goal.
Especially since we have the tiebreaker over Memphis now.
Yes,
that's a big deal. Like I feel like we kept
really
keeping track last year of, we have tiebreakers over this team and this team and this team. And we had a lot of them. There's this whole conglomerate of teams at the end of the year. And it was like, okay, we have tiebreaker over the Lakers, the Nuggets. And it ended up not mattering because we ended up needing the one over the Clippers and we didn't get it and all that.
But it very much does matter. And it just happened to not fall in our favor last year. But, you know, if we have tiebreakers with these teams that are in this little jumble in the West, it could very much matter when that time comes at the end of the season, especially with how the West is, when it usually comes down to like the last game, meaning the difference between you could be like the 3 seed or the 7 seed. Like it's always pretty weird like that. And we will definitely talk about that once the time comes, but
we're not going to have the tiebreaker over the Suns.
No, we won't. But that does not matter
because we're not catching them.
We're not catching them. A little bit of confidence, you know, but anyway, first game this week. Actually, before we get into that, we want to talk about some, unsportsmanlike conduct, rather. Something happened in the NBA this week that I feel like we should just address. Grayson Allen is back at it again, injuring our favorite players left and right. Alex Caruso is one of my favorite, if not my favorite non-Maverick. Love Alex Caruso. He is a great basketball player. And for Grayson Allen to just clothesline him out of midair like that and then act surprised that he got injured, no place for that in this league, if I do say so. And now Caruso, I think he's facing 6 to 8 weeks out, might need surgery on his wrist. There's no place for that in our league. And it's very fitting that it was Grayson Allen who did that because it's nothing new. No place for that. He faced a 1-game suspension for that flagrant. Yeah.
Should be 10 games. If you watched him at Duke, this is not surprising.
Not at all.
He was the tripper, right? He was the guy who tripped people in college.
Stuck his butt out.
Right.
Everything to disrupt a player in a very unnatural way, not in the flow of the game, just no reason for it. So, now let's get into this Thunder game. The Mavericks played them on Monday, the 17th. We won 104 to 102. The Mavericks starters, as they were the entire week, were Luka, Jalen, Dorian, Maxey, and Kristaps, which has proven to be pretty dang successful, as we have been on a roll lately. You know, aside from that Suns loss, they've been building this chemistry, and it was very prevalent this week. They've been playing a lot of selfless basketball as well. Just, you can tell the chemistry's been a lot better recently than it has been, you know, in the last month or a little over that. But good things to see. Luka got a triple-double in this game, 20 points, 12 assists, 11 rebounds. This is his third triple-double in 5 games at the time of this game. This was his 41st career triple-double. Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of an important number, I think.
It's a very important number, and it will present itself again soon. But this game, you expect to win this game, right? So I'm glad we won. A little too close for comfort, but the Thunder, there's fight in this young Thunder team. I mean, they are a long ways away from getting to, playoff hopes and advancing in the playoffs. So they really have nothing to lose. And it's pretty dangerous going against teams like that because they could just sneak a win out of nowhere and you don't expect it because you're like, oh, this is a bad team. Maybe your scouting report isn't really as in depth as it would be if you're going against, the Bucks or someone. But it was a very close game, very competitive game. But Matt, I don't know. Let's dive into it a little bit.
Yeah, one of my biggest takeaways from what you just said is actually towards the beginning of what you said. You mentioned how we had this whole starting lineup the whole week, and one, it's about time. Like, thank goodness we've had that lineup for a while. And number 2 is they did it. They finally did it. They started Maxey and KP together. Like,
yes,
thank you, please. And I want to be clear. Dwight Powell's a great person. He tries hard.
Yeah.
He works his butt off. I don't think he's a starting NBA player for a team that wants to be where we want to be.
Yeah.
And we've seen enough. And like, it just wasn't working enough.
He absolutely has a place on this team. Mm-hmm. And I've thought this way the whole season. Really since he tore his Achilles. Before he tore his Achilles, sure, he's a starter. Because his impact was it was more consistent. But since then, and especially this season, his consistency isn't really there. His leadership is definitely there, but just with how the rest of the team is and how his what his role needs to be when he's on the court and the amount of minutes that he was getting, I wasn't really pleasantly surprised with his production compared to a guy like Max. He wasn't really getting as much of an opportunity in that starting role, but now they're doing that. And Dwight definitely like just being a jolt of energy off the bench and going in there and catching lobs over bench units is way more suitable for this team, I believe. And I'm glad that they're doing that because, you get him and Luka can still have their minutes together because they do have good chemistry. It's just, he's better coming off the bench. You got Maxey starting and he's been playing pretty well as of late because of that too.
Yeah. So I want to get into the Thunder game and like this roster, kind of like you said, they're scrappy, they fight, they're not just going to roll over and die.
Yeah.
And I've told people in Houston similar things. I'm like, hey guys, look, the Rockets are objectively terrible, but you have a bright future. I like what you got. I like some of the pieces you have. You still have draft capital. So like, keep your chin up. 2025 is your year, right? So I feel the same way. Like the Rockets and Thunder are almost the exact same to me. They got a couple, obviously different pieces for each team, but they have that core of guys that's going to lead them hopefully at least to the play-in in the next couple 3-4 years. Like it could be worse. You could be the Spurs.
Yeah.
You could be the Kings and you could be the Pelicans.
Yeah. They definitely have done a pretty good job at rebuilding their teams.
Yeah.
Compared to some other teams we've seen in the past. So,
yeah.
Also the Hornets have too. I don't think that is talked about enough. They, from where they were when, say 5 years ago when Kemba was the only guy on the team to where they are now. Wow.
Yeah. Everyone says LaMelo, but like they've drafted well. Like,
yes, they really
as
have.
a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got
and signed good players
right.
that fit what they're doing too.
But when you draft Bridges and Washington and Bouknight, that's 3 other really good draft picks as well, on top of obviously the star LaMelo,
Rozier and Hayward and
right.
Yeah, I mean, it just if you're a rebuilding team, you got to take notes from what teams like that are doing. And sorry, Kings, but dude, don't take any notes from what they've done. Anyway, the Thunder game. KP had an okay game. Really, his defensive presence was felt, and probably that has to do with the Thunder not really having any dominant bigs. So, but anyway, I mean, good game for him. Dorian had a double-double in this game, 17 points, 10 rebounds. Good game for him. Great game for him, really. And as of this point, after winning this game, we won 3 straight and won 9 of our last 10. So been surging as of late. Luka in this game, most of his scoring was at the free throw line. He hit 12 of 14 free throws, but he was 4 of 17 from the floor. So that's really where he was scoring. And he didn't score a ton in this game. He had 22, but he did have a triple-double. He said he was trying to obviously do other things because his scoring wasn't necessarily there tonight. And that did lead to a win.
We almost blew this game.
We really did. And I guess you could chalk it up to the Thunder being a young team, and they made a kind of a bad mistake in the end. The last possession came down to Josh Giddey throwing a cross-court pass to Mike Muscala, and Tim Hardaway Jr. just snagged it away from him and basically sealed the game right there. But it shouldn't have gotten to that point.
Yeah.
And that is a big reason for that, as well as a lot of the games that happened in this last week, was because the Mavs have been turning the ball over a lot, especially to close out games. And you just can't have that. That's a problem that I think needs to be solved, and that's something that they're probably talking about in practices. Also, I think they had their first full team practice in like a month and a half this past week.
So, it sounds about right, because honestly, now that you say that, I don't remember any practices like ever. I don't remember any footage, anything like that. So that I believe you. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's been a minute, but hey, they've been having good chemistry, and that's probably helping.
So I want to say something about just this game as a whole. It shouldn't have been this close, like you said. Like, the Thunder team is terrible for now, like I said, and people talk a lot about moral victories, right? And it's basically you lose a bad game, and it's like, okay, well, this went well. I don't know if the opposite of that would be an immoral victory, a moral lot. You get the point. I want to take a moral victory in a victory. So, and hear me out. So we win this game close. Drawing a blank on the score, 94-92. We win this game narrowly.
94-92?
I believe so.
No, it was 104-102.
Okay. My bad. Yeah. We win 104-102. How many times in the past 2-3 years, right? And basically Luka's career, other than his rookie year, how many times would we have blown this game?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
But that hasn't been a thing this year. And we talked before we started recording that we're playing in a lot of close games, and you think that's a lot, mostly because of turnovers, and it feels like you're right? We're making careless mistakes down the end of the game, and that's allowing the other team to come back, because guess what? If you have more possessions, you're going to shoot more, and more shots are going to go in. Simple, right? But we're finding a way to pull it out, and it's whether it's Luka taking a tough shot, like getting to his spot, or we're getting free throws, and we're getting defensive stops. That's the good part. Is like KP has been great on the defensive end, and what did he have, like 18 blocks last night against the Grizzlies? Okay.
Oh, Grizzlies? I think 6.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 25. Whatever. Same thing.
Yeah.
But we're finding ways to win close games.
Yes, and we didn't do this podcast at the time, but 2 years ago, like Luka's second season, we were in a lot of close games. We were losing a lot of most of those. Whenever we were in a close game, you could just chalk it up as an L. There was a small amount of games that we would actually win. And that's because this team was not focused on defense, or they didn't have the personnel or whatever. And that is something that we can maybe talk about a little in this episode, maybe even have a full segment in some other episode talking about it, maybe towards the end of the season, see how things shape up. But Jason Kidd and Rick Carlisle always preached defense, but Jason Kidd, him leading this team has actually proven to be effective on the defensive end. his schemes, and that could also be his coaching staff too, having a part in that. But whatever it is, since he's been the coach, this team has been a lot better on defense. They really have, and they've been focusing on the defensive end, and it's showing. It is showing. So that is how we're winning these close games this year. And that's arguably, that is how we won this game too. We did have a lot of turnovers, but the key possessions down the stretch were because of our defense. And yeah, so I think that's about it for this Thunder game. They, Shea had a good game. I think he had 30 something, 34, 34, with our scouting report probably just being, hey, guard Shea, and he managed to score 34. That's, good for him.
He was hitting bucket after bucket in the fourth quarter, and like Luka would hit a bucket, then Shea would hit a 3, then we'd go hit 2 free throws, then Shea hit a 3, and now it's a 2-point game. Josh Green misses both free throws.
Yes.
And I was like, oh crap, there's 2 point something seconds left. And it might have been Giddey inbounding the ball. They try to get it to Muscala. Tim Hardaway Jr., defense, clamps, gets in there, rips the ball loose. Ball game's over. Like, there's no foul, there's no shot, there's no nothing. It's just dribbles out the clock, ball game.
Yep.
It was a very abrupt ending, but it was like,
yeah, it's like,
okay, we won.
Game's over. Yeah. So Tim Hardaway Jr. also, his shooting percentage really hasn't been that great this season. He's shooting like 32, 33. And he's been putting up some stinkers, but his defense is good, and you can't really knock that. It's not, locked down, but he does have an impact defensively. He makes key plays, maybe not consistently a good defensive player, but he makes key defensive plays. We need a charge. He's probably going to give you a charge. You need a key steal to close the game, like this Thunder game. He's going to give you that steal. And
I was gonna say I want to slow the roll personally. On the whole, he's a good defender, but he makes like splash plays, if that makes sense. Like an offensive player, he makes the splash plays, an alley-oop, a big 3, a buzzer beater. Timmy can make splash defensive plays. He just doesn't really do anything else on the defensive end, which is weird. But
I had to clarify because there are players who are good consistently on defense. He makes the splash plays.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Let's get into the Raptors game. The win.
The Luka game, right?
The Luka game, 41 points. Season high 41. I think his previous season high was 34, 33, 34, something like that. Nowhere near his career high, but his scoring has been down this season, and it was good to see him get one of these games under his belt. Again, 41 points. He had a clutch 3-pointer to close out this game, just kind of sealed the deal for us. He also had 14 rebounds, tied his season best. And let's see, KP had 18 and 7 in this game. This game was our 4th straight win and 10 out of our last 11 games. We won 10 out of our last 11 games. Just continuing to build that chemistry, build that record up, honestly, and get higher up into the Western standings.
See, no name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 told me that Luka wasn't clutch, but he hit that 3. So I don't know.
I think it's right in front of him. I think Luka is clutch. I just think he needs to open his eyes.
Ooh.
But
nah.
Timmy also had a good game in this one. I think he scored 16 coming off the bench. Luka had this is his 10th 40-point game, by the way, of his short 4-year career. Hopefully he chalks up a couple more of those. Hopefully he can get a 50-point game in there too.
That'd be
I'd
really
love to
cool.
See that.
In a win, by the way. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Because he hasn't got that yet, which is kind of shocking.
Well, but how many of these games has he had, right? Where he's getting 40, 10, and 6 or like something like that. Like he's not just getting like
the points.
No shade to these other guys, but Jason Tatum had a game today where he had 51 and 10, so I shouldn't call him out. But like when Damian Lillard does it, or when Trae Young does it, or guys like or if LaMelo drops 50, I don't think he has, but like guys like that, they're probably gonna get you 51 and like 6 assists and 2 rebounds. Like if Luka gets a 50-point game, it's gonna be 52, 18, and 12. So like when that day happens, Watch out.
Just all the lines are going to go up together. It's not just going to be the score.
Yeah. It'll just take like a triple overtime game.
That counts though.
It counts.
Yeah. So this, what is this game? Oh yeah. So Pascal Siakam was playing. Oh yeah. The Raptors only had 7 players playing in this game.
Right. Yeah.
2 starters out.
DNPCDs. Like.
Yeah, and then Gary Trent Jr. and Khem Birch were out with injuries. Very weird. 6 of those 7 guys were in double figures, as they probably had to be to be close in this game. But yeah, Pascal had 20, OG had 19, Fred VanVleet had 18. He shot terrible from the field, but you could tell his impact was there. He's honestly, like, whenever he's out there, maybe it's the Raptors jersey, maybe it's just because he played with Kyle Lowry for so long, but like, he's really adopted a lot of what Kyle Lowry does.
I don't know why. I thought you were just going to say something about like his physical appearance and his stockiness. But,
no, it's just like his leadership on the court. Like it's Kyle Lowry-esque, which is kind of cool to see. So,
all I have to say about the Raptors is that I actually listened to Zach Lowe, and they were talking about the same thing. They were like, they would know how to take us a short, stocky, undervalued point guard and turn him into something great, right? Of course, they would know how to do that. And then if you're not named Fred, like, do you have to be between 6'7.5" and 6'8.5" to play for the Raptors? Like, do you have to be 6'8"?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just making sure.
Yeah. It's a requirement.
Maybe it's a Canadian thing. I don't know.
None of them are Canadian. I think one of them is. I think he was the first. I forget his name. I do not know, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to look it up. But he was the first Canadian-born player to be drafted by the Raptors, I think, this past season. So to be drafted, not play for them. I don't know who that was, but
take your word for it.
Yeah, I'm if you really want to know, you can look it up. But so this game, I think the key for us winning this game was defense until it wasn't. Until the last couple minutes. Fred VanVleet, just like we were leading most of the game. Fred VanVleet drained this deep 3-pointer to give them a 96-95 lead with a minute 55 to go. After not having a good shooting night, and he just,
he shot 4 of 20.
Yeah. But he drained that 3. They were up. Bit of a shock right there. We're like, all right, hey, we gotta close out this win. This Raptors team is definitely not up to our level this season. We have to close this out. And Luka hit this. I think he hit a layup or like a floater or something in the lane. Then next possession, he drains a 27-footer from behind the arc to beat the shot clock, and it gave us a 100-96 lead. The Raptors then come down the court. Fred VanVleet throws a lob to, I think, Pascal Siakam or somebody. Somebody caught a lob, brings the score to 198. And then they play the foul game, I believe, and it's game over. Mavericks win. Again, just kind of like the Thunder game, you don't want the game to get to that extent, but it's good that we were able to clutch out a win.
Well, and the Raptors they're surprisingly
they're a better.
They're in a different tier than that. I don't want to say the Thunder team, but they're in a higher tier than we expected, right? They're I think they're out of the play-in right now. I think they're just in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, and they just they have a ton of championship experience too. And that does go a long way when it comes to winning these games and flipping a switch in the middle of the season to start to, get back into the playoff race. And they've definitely been able to do that. They do have a lot of good pieces, and I'm surprised that they really had this close to a game and they only had 7 guys too. Like that can't be talked about enough. Like, that's good for them. And
I lied. They're 9th in the East, but still
they're in the play.
Yeah.
They're in the play, and they were not in that position a couple months ago. So, but yeah, it just it was a good win. Luka was 13 of 24 from the floor in this 41-point game of his. He was 4 of 10 on threes, by the way.
Bump that average
And
up. It doesn't sound like it, right? You hear 4
no,
of
but
10,
it'll
like,
bump it up a
ooh.
little bit. Yeah, we this was a home game for Dallas,
Yep.
by the way. 6 straight home games. The Mavericks have won their longest streak since November, going into December of 2018.
Wow.
Been a minute. They don't typically win a lot of home games, or as many as they should, unlike the Jazz.
Remember that season where we just like could not win at home? It was the 2020 season, the season that ended in the bubble.
Yeah.
We were great on the road and we're terrible at home. Specifically, we would lose a bunch
Luka's
of clutch home games. And that season, the Sixers were the exact opposite. And it was like they only won at home. They had like 2 losses all year at home before the stoppage, and they were average on the road. And they were like the 2 or 3 seed.
Yeah, interesting. But we're winning better at home now and
playing better defense.
Those are the 2 key takeaways. So let's get into the next game, which was the Suns' loss. But there are a lot of good things to take away from this game, I think.
I'm going to take a moral victory on this one.
Yeah.
Big time.
And considering that the Suns are literally the best team in the West in the
league.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do all the things. The Suns are the best team. They did not have DeAndre Ayton, but other than that, they were healthy.
All right.
Mavs are on the second night of a back-to-back. So many games in so many days. Long win streak. They're bound to lose eventually. Luka carried them the night before, got 41 and 14 and whatever. And we were destined to lose. NBA's rigged, and no. But like it's stupid, and I don't actually believe those things, but like
no.
A couple of them are partially true, and you combine all those things, and mostly the fact that the Suns are really clutch. They know how to hit mid-range shots, and there's a thing about this. I'm going to shout him out because he did a great job highlighting it. Nick Angstad went on this whole tangent about how we, the Mavericks, allow mid-range shots and how we allow a bunch of them because statistically, analytically, it's a bad shot. And we don't allow a bunch of threes and we don't allow a bunch of layups. The Suns are the best team in the NBA at hitting mid-range shots. And they have Devin Booker and Chris Paul, who are lethal from mid-range. And what did they do in the fourth quarter, Jack?
They shot mid-range shots.
And they made them. They just killed us. And I wasn't surprised. I wasn't mad. I was sad. We could have beaten the best team in the league, but it's it felt like it was coming. We had a lead at halftime. Luka had the play right before the half. He gets a layup. He gets a steal. He gets a 3 as the buzzer goes off, and everyone's going nuts. And I'm excited. Yes,
we can talk about that. That was awesome. If you haven't seen the play, please look it up. It's so great. Luka, it was a layup or something. Scored. The Phoenix Suns inbound the ball. Luka runs in, steals it, drains a 3, and starts running into the locker room, and it swishes buzzer beating 3 to end the half. Great.
He just runs into the locker room.
Yeah, he just runs into the locker room, and it was a great feeling when that went in, and just watching that play out. It was very cool. So
anyway, all these things are happening. We have a big old lead. I forget how big the lead got, but we have a lead almost the entire first 3 quarters pretty much. And I just, in the back of my mind, the whole time I'm sitting there going, yep, I know how this is going to go. I know how this is going to end. And sure enough, that's how it ended.
So Luka had 28 points in this game. Jalen had 19. Kristaps had 18 points and 11 rebounds. Great overall efforts from the big 3.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess
could be our little big 3.
Our
medium 3.
Oh gosh, I like that nickname. Okay,
Jalen.
Luka is in no way medium though.
It's our big medium.
Just stop talking. Oh man.
Honestly though, Jalen has been playing really great this season for us, and this game was no exception. He's just his impact is I think been a lot different under J Kidd than it was under Rick. Just the way he's playing has been a little bit different. He's been a lot better. His stats are a bit better. He should be in the running for most improved player.
He should, and I don't think right now he would necessarily get it. When we started this season, I was all hopeful. I was like, "Oh, he's going to win sixth man," and it looked like he was going to win sixth man.
He's been starting a lot,
and now he's starting, so he can't win sixth man if you're starting. You have to come off the bench at least half of the games that you play in, and right now he's not near that. He's come off the bench maybe 5 or 6 times, and he's played in just about every game. So probably not going to win sixth man. I hope he doesn't, because I don't want him to go back to the bench.
No, me neither. His impact has been great starting, because him and Luka's chemistry is great, and so this Suns game, back into it. Do you want to talk about like the end of this game? How kind of our excuses?
So
well, what is not an excuse, according to Luka, is his neck. He came out of the game late, sometime in the fourth quarter, because of his neck. His neck was bugging him, and he went to the bench, was icing it, I think, and came back in and made some key plays to get us, I think, leading at one point, but then it just kind of fell apart. So we'll see how that neck kind of follows him. If it does, he was playing in the Memphis game, so it clearly didn't take him out, but we'll see if it's a nagging injury or anything.
Right. He had some tape on, I think, his shoulder neck area. Yeah. And I actually forgot about this, but he mentioned how it's similar to what he had back in the playoffs. And if you remember, it was the talking point that everyone was mentioning on the national scope. It was, he can't even turn his head. How's he supposed to throw passes and finish their contact if he can't even turn his head? And like, it was pretty rough. And he got through it, and he was fine after a couple of days. And Luka in the post game was talking about, it's actually a little worse this time. So I saw that and I was like, man, thank goodness we have a couple of days off. This game was on Thursday. Mavs just beat the Grizzlies on Sunday, so we had all that time off, and we needed it a lot just to get him healthy. And we're still without Sterling Brown, who's really the only person on the injury report listed nowadays. That Willie Cauley-Stein's not on the team anymore. Sterling Brown's the only name, and it's nice to see just one name. Hopefully he can get back soon. He has a foot.
He does have a foot.
He has a foot. That's really all I know about it. But so Luka gets banged up in this game. I guess he kind of re-aggravates that neck. But we lost this game in the last 3 minutes, right? At 3:10.
Well,
Luka hit a 14-foot floating jump shot, and we're tied at 99. 3 minutes and 10 seconds left. We finished with 101. So for those last 3 minutes and 10 seconds, we got 2 points.
Yay.
There you go.
I think the closing of this game is a little less on the Dallas Mavericks and more on the Phoenix Suns, and just how prevalent Chris Paul's leadership was to close out this game. You can hate him as a player. I know a lot of people that really don't like Chris Paul as a player, but his leadership is incredible. Just what you saw it for the Thunder team a couple of years ago. You see it for this team. They could not be doing what they're doing without Chris Paul leading the charge. Just huge props to him in that regard. But to close out this game, it was, him, man. And then he capped it off with this deep three over, I don't remember who it was, but it sealed the game for them. And that's what you get when you're facing the best team in the league. They clearly know how to win games, and they really clutched this one out.
Every time CP3 hits a three, an Angel gets its wings. There's just something about it's a clutch game, and CP3 hoists up a three. And I'm like, you sure about that? You sure it's not like 6 feet too deep and it just goes in? It's like, oh crap. Like you're not supposed to hit those. Like you're supposed to step in and hit it from the elbow. But
yeah, he's the mid-range god. But
you remember what the Suns team was without him? Because I do.
Yes, and somehow they still beat us a lot.
Oh yeah, we should mention this is the 9th straight time that Phoenix beat Dallas. 9 in a row.
Really?
9 straight losses to the Suns.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The last victory for Dallas was in November of 2019. That was my freshman year in college. That was 4 months before the NBA stoppage, and Mark Cuban had the infamous, shocked face on the bench, seeing that the NBA was postponing its season. That was 4 months before then. That's the last time the Suns lost to Dallas.
Do you think they'll make it to 10?
Seeing as we played them again this year, I would say yes.
Okay. Well, that's tough, but I think that's enough about this Suns game.
Yeah.
Good win for them, but still not a lot of good things to take away from Dallas. Their ball movement again in this game was great. The chemistry is building, and you can tell like they visually look like they're enjoying playing with each other. They have been playing a lot of selfless basketball lately, despite Luka also, getting 41 the other night. But they've been passing the ball around, and everyone's kind of getting their touches. So that's just, it's not a bad thing that we lost this game.
This is going to sound dumb. And like the value of watching sports live nowadays is that anything can happen. It can be so wild. For instance, National Football League this weekend, right?
Yes.
So this is going to sound dumb, but I don't think I learned much from this game. And I watched every second of it. I don't think I got much from it because this pretty much went exactly how I expected, right? The Mavs were in it the whole game. It was close back and forth. We actually had a lead for the majority of it. That was a little surprising.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Suns clutched up. They hit a bunch of clutch shots. Their defense locked in. I mean, freaking Mikal Bridges, man. Like,
he should be in the running for defensive player in the year.
Man.
For sure. But yeah, I don't know if I learned anything from this game, but because what we've been talking about is what they've been doing, these past couple weeks, right. But it's not a bad loss, if that makes any sense.
It just kind of reinforced what I've learned about them so far. Like if you take into account what we've seen from the team so far, we've learned a lot. It's like, whoa, where's this defense from? And like, oh, JB's a starter. And okay, Tim Hardaway Jr., can you like maybe have a good night every now and then? Like we've definitely had takeaways this season. But if you like taking what we know there going into the Suns game, it went pretty much exactly how we expected. And based on both teams, right? The Suns did exactly what we thought they would do. Mavs scored 101 and held their opponent to a relatively low number. It's not 130 like days of old, like 2 years ago. So
right.
We lost to a really, really good basketball team.
Yeah. I mean, they're the best team in the league for a reason.
And then we played another one on Sunday and actually beat them.
We did. So this Grizzlies game, which was, yesterday, whenever you're listening to this, I don't want to say anything, but we kind of smoked them.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
they're the third seed in the West, and we convincingly beat them. There wasn't no like end of the game scares like it was with the Thunder and the Raptors where they came back and almost won it. We convincingly won this game, and Luka and Ja both kind of did their thing though. Ja had 35. Luka had how many points did he have? He had 37.
That's a lot.
So just coming off that 41 point game, he's maybe is he ramping up to a 50-point game?
I think his neck is just fine.
Yeah, his neck's probably fine. And Luka's tough. Like he'll play through stuff.
We don't talk about that enough, but like yes, Luka Doncic is a tough player, and everyone in the NBA is.
Yeah, but he has a reputation of like, oh, he's always whining at the refs, like he like off of any little bit of contact.
Which
he plays through so much, which is true. We can say that he does, and it does get annoying at times, especially when we're down. But he's also very tough. Like he plays through a lot, and got to give him that respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Luka had 37, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, near triple double for him. I wonder who missed an assist that should have gotten one. I forget off the top of my head, but how rude of them to not let him get that triple double.
His name rhymes with Bim Bardaway.
And his dad also rhymes with Bim Bardaway.
So for the sake of being objective, I should do the thing. Dylan Brooks was out with a left ankle sprain. Brandon Clark was out with back soreness. And then in health and safety protocols, Memphis had Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, and Kyle Anderson. So that's a good chunk of their rotation. They were depleted. And if there's anything we know about Memphis basketball is that, hey, you can't win if your roster is depleted. If you follow college basketball, you'll know what I'm talking about because Penny Hardaway is a joke.
Oh, right.
So, and they're in my conference. I go to UH, and Memphis. If you're a Memphis fan, Memphis Tigers fan, I'm laughing at you, not with you. So, anyway, the Grizzlies, their roster is depleted, and they can't win the game because, well, Luka went off, right? And
I mean, they also Ja had 35,
right,
and then their second best player had 10. So if you're gonna have all those guys out, you need someone to step up, and no one stepped up.
The Grizzlies start John Morant, John Conchar. Please help me out.
Who is that?
Conchar?
By the way,
I know who he is. I just can't say it. I don't know why. It just it trips me up. Anyway, Zaire Williams, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Steven Adams. And like you said, we keep our same starting five for the past a little over a week now. Mm-hmm. I'm so happy. I love the lineup too. Not only am I happy that it's consistent, lineup. I'm also happy with who it is. I love the lineup.
Yeah. Again, Luka, Jalen, Kristaps, Maxey, Dorian, no, they didn't. But, everybody scored in this game. Everybody got touches. I was going to say they all scored in double digits. They were close, but not really. Dorian had 9. Maxey had 7. KP had 15. Jalen had 13. And Luka had his 37. Then coming off the bench, Tim Hardaway had 9. So, again, everybody's getting touches and everybody's getting opportunity, which is good to see. It's not just a couple of us. But let's get into this game a little bit. We never trailed, by the way, and led by as many as 22 points. And this is our 11th win in the last 13 games. So,
have we mentioned Kristaps Porzingis tonight?
How could I forget? How could I be so silly? 6 blocks for Kristaps Porzingis.
That's his number, by the way, in case you did not know.
Yes.
But how many times, I guess last year, were we okay, all right, KP, we see the offensive potential. But man, you're just kind of standing around doing nothing on defense. And Paul George called him out.
He did.
And you always say
they don't have the paint presence.
And they were right. And it looked like they were right. Paul George says they don't have a rim protector. They don't have anyone that scares us in there.
At the time, they were right. Now they're not.
Man, okay, so off the top of my head, you can add Jaren Jackson Jr. to the list.
Yeah.
You can add DeAnthony Melton to the list. Maxey blocked Jaren Jackson Jr. as well.
Yes, he did.
Oh man, it's honestly it got hard to keep track of all of them. I don't think I can name all 6 off the top of my head. I did the best I could. Thank you for coming. But yeah, just if he's getting 6 blocks,
yeah,
man. And you got to assume most of those are automatic rebounds ish. They kind of block and they go into his 7'3" arms.
Because he doesn't really like Zion. He doesn't block it into the 10th row.
Right.
It usually results in a Mavs possession after his blocks.
This is gonna sound dumb, but it doesn't on his blocks. It doesn't really look like he jumps. Like he's
Probably
like
doesn't.
Zion is leaping and flying and like coming in full
Yeah.
speed and swatting him. And
Right.
KP, it's more like, okay, I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna be a tall tree, and it works.
Yeah.
So anyway, my point with that is if most of his blocks are like that, which they are, and at least they feel like they are, they're coming straight into his lap, and boom, that's a new possession. Like not only is that a block and a missed shot for Memphis or whoever the opponent is, it's a new possession for us.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, the teams with more possessions, you get more shots. More shots are probably going to go in. You're going to score more points. You're going to win more games. That's a Mavs 101 for you.
By the way, in case you didn't know, Dallas has been playing good against Memphis this season. As you said, we've won 3 out of our 4 games against them.
We're done playing them.
The ones. Yeah, we're done playing them, which we're going to keep you all posted if that tiebreaker has, anything to do with standings at the end of the season, if it matters or not.
I hope it does.
Hopefully it does, because that means we either got better or the Grizzlies got worse. I don't know. But
yeah,
we were the ones who snapped that 11-game winning streak that they had back in a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
and then about a week and a half ago. And then I just want to talk about Kristaps a little bit, and we can maybe even have a full segment on him later on in the season if we want. And this is part of the reason why I want him to be an all-star in the West, and he has not gotten the fan votes that he deserves. But hopefully he gets some of the player vote and the coach vote or whatever. But it's just his defense, man. And I think it's just how Jason Kidd is using him, because his defensive presence has been there. Like he is back to what he was in New York. Like the potential that you saw, you're like, okay, this guy could be a paint presence and a 3-point threat on the other end. And his game has evolved, and he's good in the mid-range now. He's, all right from 3. He'll make them. He'll make those trailing threes. He loves that trailer. But in his defense, like in this game, 6 blocks throughout this week. He's gotten multiple blocks in basically every game, and it's
how nice to have KP in this form and Maxey starting together. Like we know Maxey's defense is legit.
Yeah.
And he's adding people to the Versberg wall every day. And Jared Jackson Jr., like I said, got added to that list.
Yeah.
But so
it's nice to have 2 defensive bigs that aren't, because in years past, it seemed like every game, if a team had a somewhat decent big, we were going to get smoked. And so now it's nice to know that probably won't happen.
When KP's like this, it's not just, okay, he's a rim protector now. He's a big stopper. He's not just Rudy Gobert standing around and they're going, "Ooh, I big." Right. Yeah, that works. It works for what Utah needs. And they're getting a lot of wins, and they're going to be a high seed again. It's not like that. It's that size, but with 5 to 10 to 15 less pounds than Gobert. He's quicker. He's better on his feet. He's not necessarily as good at getting the blocks. I mean, we say that, and he just got 6 blocks tonight, but Gobert's a better blocker, and he's a better shot alterer. But what KP can do is he can follow you from the 3-point line to the rim. Like Gobert's not going out there. And we saw that in the Clippers series, right? In the Western Conference Finals. This is the difference in these 2 guys. You look at them and you say, okay, well, they're both stupid tall. Just put them down in the paint. No. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's why it felt like we didn't have a rim protector last year, is because I felt like on defense, a lot of times it was, okay, he's standing down there and he's guarding Zubats. And Zubats is just going to lumber around the paint. He's going to stand on the block, and KP's kind of standing there just trying to jump and block shots. If KP's running around,
he's active on defense, like running around on defense.
If he's starting his defensive possession, if that makes any sense, if he's starting it around the elbow, guarding a power forward or a center who's trying to drive on him, he's just going to stick his 7'3" hand up mid shot, and he's going to block you, rather than trying to stop someone coming full speed, like just like a locomotive at you, like LeBron or something like that. Like that's a very different ask of him defensively. And KP's better at doing the second one than the first one.
Very good point. And it still shocks me though how players are, because like you said, like he's quick around the perimeter, and like if you're moving around, he can follow you. But it shocks me just how often players are able to finish over him. He's 7'3" with a big freaking wingspan. I that would be intimidating if it was me. I maybe that says something about him, but
maybe it's because he's skinny. I don't know.
Maybe I don't know, but that's something I noticed too. But like you said, like it's that movement that allows him to be great on defensive possessions as well.
That's what makes him the unicorn, right? Like both of those things can be true. Everything I just said and what you said, like, yeah, he still gets dunked on, and he'll still get, he still gets, John Moran will still finish a tough layup over him. Like those things happen, but he's also still molding into this versatile guy on the defensive end that we hadn't seen since probably pre ACL New York. Like, I guess there was no post ACL New York, but anyway, you get the idea.
Yeah. So I think that's about it for this week. It was a great win against Memphis, even though they were depleted. It was a convincing win, and they're the 3rd seed and we are the 5th seed, and now we have the tiebreaker, and that could mean a lot in the future. So I think that's about it. That wraps it up for the games for this week. We'll talk a little bit about the All-Star voting returns that were posted this past week, a couple days ago. First off, in the Western Conference, LeBron leads the West, followed by, he's going to get the fan votes, and he's never not going to get the fan votes. But it's LeBron, Jokic, Wiggins, who I had for my All-Star list, but then Paul George, Anthony Davis, Draymond Green got that fan vote. Carmelo Anthony, which honestly, in past years, it's kind of been a joke. Like he has a ton of fans, right? But I'm not saying he's going to get it, but he's one of the best. I know he's the best catch and shoot three-point shooter in the league. I think he's shooting like 50% from 3 off catch and shoot threes. That's ridiculous.
That's actually kind of nuts.
Like it's freaking given if he gets a catch and shoot 3.
Give Clay 2 more months and maybe he'll pass him.
Oh, and then so it's Carmelo, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, DeAndre Ayton, and then for the guards, it's Steph, Ja, Luka, Clay, Devin Booker, Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard, Anthony Edwards. Let's go through these a bit because quite a few of them stick out as obviously they're not really all-stars. Some of them stick out as they're a lot lower than they should be. And there are some all-stars that might not even be on these lists, like in the fan votes.
Yeah.
But let's just talk about these lists. So front court in the West, LeBron and Jokic given, like those guys are, I think are all-stars at this point.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
All that really stands out to me is like Andrew Wiggins having 5 times as many votes as Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
Is laughable.
Yeah. Like I do think Wiggins could either be an injury replacement or like the last guy picked to be on the All-Star team just because the Warriors might get 2.
It should be Steph and Draymond, and then
but it should be Steph and Draymond.
If they give them 3, like okay, yeah, they're a top 2 seed. They could be the 1 seed by then, whatever.
Yeah, then it's probably Wiggins. Like Poole's good. Poole's been doing good, but I think Wiggins just has the edge over Poole at least this year.
Please don't tell me. Okay, yeah.
What?
Poole is not an all-star. Like if Jordan freaking Poole makes the all-star game, I don't know what we're doing.
No. But then, like, Paul George, I do think deserved it if he was healthy. I don't know. Because he's not healthy, right? He's still injured?
No,
I think he's out for the season. They're done. The Clippers
are long. He should be back relatively soon, I think.
Okay. But the Clippers are, I don't know if they're going to be much of a difference in the West this year. But then there's AD, Draymond, Melo. I don't think Melo's getting it, but Karl Anthony Towns, Gobert, who I think is way lower than he should be. And then Ayton, which I don't think is
so this is half of the votes, and then there are people who have votes, and it's mostly media and people like that. When those people vote, Rudy Gobert will go up as he should.
Oh, for sure.
And DeAndre Ayton will go up as he should.
This is just the fan vote.
Yeah. Which is always skewed. It's always hilarious. Klay Thompson has been top 5 on this list the whole time, and he had played 0 games at the time of the first returns.
Yeah,
and he was top 5 in Western Conference guards. So,
yeah, but I mean the guards. I do think Steph and Ja, Luka are gonna get it. I think Booker's gonna get it. Man, but that's tough. It's Booker or Chris Paul. I think they probably give it to Booker because there's only 4 guards, right?
So it's 2 guards. And 3 front court for the starters, and then for the bench,
it's just a number. Of
it's 7 spots, and you have to have at least, I think it's 2 guards, maybe 3 guards.
I think it's 2 guards and 3 forwards.
And then there's like 2 wild cards. I think it's again 2 guards, 3 front court, and then it's 2 wild cards. I think.
Okay, but Mitchell deserves that. I don't
obviously
think Russell Westbrook.
Luka's going to be an all-star. We can debate Ja or Luka. I don't think Luka's deserving of being a starter, but he's going to be an all-star. He's played less games than Ja, so like that's a pretty convincing argument to me in itself. And the Grizzlies are 4 games ahead of us now. Luka's kind of own him head-to-head, but I mean, the games played argument, like that's a big deal to me because
it is
because the All-Star game is already so early in the grand scheme of things. And I know it has to be, but when you realize that the most important 26 games of basketball are after the All-Star game, it's kind of like, well, should you really been an All-Star? So if you only play, let's say there's 54 games before the All-Star break, it's like, well, if you only played in 20 of them and then you don't play the last 25, how the heck were you an All-Star if you played 22 games that year? So the games like,
right.
I get it.
Just think about it like this. If a guy averaged 50 points in the 2 games that he played, but only played 2 games, and then a guy averaged 25, but he played like the 40 whatever games up until that point, who are you giving it to?
It's a very extreme case, but solid point, and the argument stands.
Yes. So let's get into the Eastern Conference. We'll go through this pretty quick, and then we'll wrap up this episode. Yeah. But the front court is KD, given. Giannis, given. Embiid, given. Tatum, given. Then we got Jimmy Butler, Jared Allen, Pascal Siakam, Bam Adebayo, Miles Bridges, and LaMarcus Aldridge. And then the guards, DeMar DeRozan, given. Trae Young, I think he is a given.
He'll be in the game. I don't know if he's not a starter, probably.
I don't think a starter. Zach LaVine, given. I think he's probably him and DeRozan are probably the starters. Harden, do you think he's in there? I think he's probably in there. Yeah. LaMelo, I think, should be in there. Kyrie, no, he does not have enough games. Fred VanVleet, Derrick Rose, Darius Garland, I think should be in there. And then Jaylen Brown. So
I really have too many complaints.
Me neither. I think that's a little better than the West was.
Kyrie Irving's hilarious, but like those are in. Yeah, those are everywhere.
Yeah, but I do think these were a little bit more realistic than
yes.
So, we're doing good on time. Or do you want to wrap this up?
I'm good. I think we're. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this week. We went through those games. The Mavericks have been surging lately, man. I mean, they're playing really well. Did have a, kind of a heartbreaking but kind of expected loss against the Suns. They are the best team in the league right now. But we had some very good clutch wins this past week, as well as a very convincing win against the Grizzlies. And then we also went through the All-Star voting returns. Those are the fan votes. And, I don't think Carmelo Anthony is going to be an All-Star this year, but he did get a nod for it. Anyway, next week, little preview. We're just going to go through the games as usual. The Mavericks play the Warriors in San Francisco on Tuesday, the 25th. Then a back-to-back, they're flying up to Portland. They play the Trailblazers on Wednesday on the 26th. And then they got a couple days off and they come back home. The Pacers play the Mavericks in Dallas on Saturday, the 29th. Rick Carlisle comes back to Dallas. They'll probably play a little video for him or something, a little tribute. I don't know if this is his first time coming back to Dallas, but no, it's not. No, this is his first time coming back. Yeah, so they're going to play a little tribute for him. Probably have a lot of clips from 2011 and some playoff moments, but that'll be cool. Then the Mavericks, another back-to-back. They go to Orlando on Sunday, the 30th, which we will include that in next week's recap as well. And we'll talk about something else if it presents itself throughout the week. But Matt, I think that's about it. You got anything else? All right.
Class dismissed.
Hey. A little early there. We gotta run through some things. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. Matt just wants to be done with this.
Yes.
Again, we're live on Dash Radio's
I'm hungry and I'm tired.
channel. Dash Radio's Nothing But Net channel on Mondays at 2 a.m. Central Time. Episodes will be on all podcast platforms on Monday mornings after that. You can find us on YouTube where the episodes will be up earlier, probably Sunday evenings, where we're Mavs 101. So go subscribe to us on there if you haven't already. Listen to us on the platforms if you're an audio person. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram. We're at Mavs 101 Show, where we update you in real time with game stuff on Instagram. Got all the clips and stuff and all that. Find all that stuff there. But thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
Class dismissed.
There you go.